I'm Ella Walker, and on my 19th birthday, I became an orphan. My parents were still alive, but the part of me that thought of them as mom and dad died right there in our living room. The room smelled like lemon polish and disappointment. A chocolate cake sat on the coffee table, its candles unlit, a prop in a play where everyone knew their lines except me. I sat on the edge of the stiff armchair as I watched my mother, Margaret. She was smiling, a bright, brittle thing that never reached her eyes. She held a box wrapped in glittering gold paper. For a stupid, hopeful second, I thought it was for me. It was my birthday, after all. My younger sister, Chloe, sat on the couch, glowing. She was the sun, and I was the shadow that proved she existed. Everything came easy to Chloe. Grades, friends, our parents' love. My mother's smile widened as she walked right past me and placed the gold box in Chloe's lap. "Happy birthday." "Sweetie," she said to Chloe. "Not to me." Chloe looked up, her expression a perfect blend of surprise and entitlement. "Mom, it's not my birthday. It's Ella's." "We know," my father Robert said without looking up from his newspaper. His voice was flat, a dead weight in the room. "Your sister deserves this more than you." The words didn't crash into me. They slid in, cold and sharp, like a shard of glass I'd been carrying under my skin for years. I looked at the box in Chloe's lap. It was the brand new laptop I'd seen her admiring. The one I'd been saving for by working weekends at the diner to afford a used version for my college classes. The ones my parents called a waste of time. They had humiliated me before, but this was different. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was a statement, a deliberate execution of my worth in their eyes. Chloe started to protest, a weak sound. "But Dad..." "It's fine, Chloe," I said. My voice was calm, steady. It surprised me. A strange cold clarity had settled over me. He's right. 3 pairs of eyes turned to me. They expected me to cry, to yell, to make a scene they could later describe as me being dramatic. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. I stood up from the armchair. My legs felt solid. My spine felt like steel. I looked at the unlit cake, the gold box, and the 3 people who were supposed to be my family. They were strangers. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't pack a bag. I just walked to the front door, opened it, and closed it gently behind me. I never looked back. The bus ticket to Cleveland used up the last of my savings. I watched my hometown disappear through the dirty window, feeling nothing but the low hum of the engine. That first winter nearly broke me. I found a freezing, damp studio apartment with a window that rattled every time the wind blew. I got a job working the night shift at a 24-hour hardware store. From 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I stocked shelves, swept floors, and mixed paint for insomniacs and emergency contractors. My body ached, but it was honest work. During the day, I slept for a few hours, then forced myself awake for my online college courses on a secondhand laptop I'd bought from a pawn shop. When my power was cut off for being late on the bill, I sat in the dark and read by candlelight. Every time I felt like giving up, their voices would echo in my head. "You'll never make it on your own, Ella." My mother's warning. "She's not ambitious like Chloe." My father's assessment. Those words became my fuel. Every bag of concrete I hauled, every chapter I read, every dollar I saved was a silent act of rebellion. I imagined them back home, telling their friends I was going through a rebellious phase. They would brag about Chloe getting into her dream college. They sent me a Christmas card that year with a pre-printed message and a signature. Love, Mom, Dad, and Chloe. No personal note. No phone call. I taped it to the wall above my desk. It was a reminder. Pain, I learned that winter, is a better teacher than privilege. It strips you down to nothing and forces you to build yourself back up, piece by piece. 3 years went by in a slow, relentless grind of night shifts and final exams. I finished my bachelor's in business logistics and kept saving every penny. Then I saw a job posting for an operations assistant at a small logistics software firm in Columbus. The salary was terrible, but it mentioned an equity stake for early employees. It sounded like a risk. It sounded perfect. The office was 3 rooms above a pizza shop. The whole company was the 2 founders, a coder, and me. We worked 18-hour days, fueled by bad pizza and the belief that our software could change an industry. The founders were brilliant but disorganized. I became the glue. A year later, when one of the founders wanted to cash out, I was ready. I used my savings and a small business loan to buy his shares. I was 22 and a part owner. A year after that, I bought out the second partner. Suddenly, I was the majority shareholder, the CEO. By the time I was 24, our little company wasn't so little anymore. We landed a major contract and moved into a real office building. The girl they had called worthless was now signing contracts that controlled the supply chains for half the businesses in their town. They didn't know it. To them, I was just a ghost. I wasn't looking for a house, but one day, scrolling through a real estate site, I saw it. The old Willow Creek estate. It was their dream house, the one they'd talked about for years, a symbol of the success they always craved. Years ago, their deal to buy it had quietly fallen through. I pieced together later that they were denied the mortgage, that they were living a fantasy propped up by debt. Now, it was on the market again. I didn't buy it for comfort. I bought it because it was a symbol. I made a cash offer, well above asking, and the deal closed in a week. The day I signed the deed, I thought of my 19th birthday, of the gold wrapping paper and the cake I never got to taste. This house wasn't a home. It was a statement carved in marble. I don't need your approval to exist. I let it sit empty, an unfurnished fortress of my own making. They came on a gray Tuesday afternoon. I saw their familiar car pull up the long, winding driveway. A deep, chilling calm settled over me. I had been waiting for this day for 5 years. I took my time walking down the grand staircase before opening the door. My mother's face was a storm of shock and resentment. "Ella," she breathed. "You bought our house?" "No," I said, my voice even. "I bought my house." They stepped inside, their eyes scanning the cavernous, empty foyer. "How could you afford this?" my father demanded. "I work hard," I said simply. My mother scoffed. "It's too big for you." "Robert, this was supposed to be our home. Our dream." My father turned to face me, his eyes cold. He looked at me, then at Chloe, who stood uncomfortably by the door. Then he said the words I knew were coming, the echo of that day 5 years ago. "She deserves this place more than you," he said, nodding toward Chloe. I almost smiled. "You think so?" I asked softly. "Why don't we all sit down? There's something I'd like to show you." I led them to the dining room. The only furniture was a massive mahogany table and 12 empty chairs. I placed a leather briefcase on the table and clicked the latches open. From it, I pulled a thick file folder labeled with a single word, Walker. "You've always believed in giving Chloe what she deserves," I said. "So maybe she deserves this too." I slid the first document across the polished wood toward my father. "This is a student loan application for $120,000. It's dated 2 years ago, when Chloe was still in high school. And that," I pointed, "is your signature, Dad. Forgery is a federal offense." Robert's face went pale. I turned to Chloe. "You never saw that money, did you?" "It went straight into their account." She shook her head, confused. I slid the next documents in front of her. "These are credit card statements." 3 cards, opened in your name, used to pay for their car and a vacation to the Bahamas. The statements were sent to a P.O. box. My mother let out a strangled gasp. "Ella, this is a private family matter." "It stopped being a family matter when you committed fraud," I replied, pulling out the final stack of papers. "And these are for you, Mom." They were her business tax filings. "For the past 3 years, you've been claiming Chloe as a salaried employee to lower your tax burden. That's tax evasion." Each sheet of paper was a brick in the wall of their deceit. Their faces turned a waxy, sickly gray. "This can't be real," Chloe whispered, her voice trembling. "It's very real," I said. "I had a private investigator look into their finances. And just so we're all clear," I added, my eyes locking with my father's, "the state attorney's office and the IRS already have copies of everything." The dam broke. My mother tried pleading, her words a frantic jumble of family and mistakes. My father shot up from his chair, his face a mottled red. "You ungrateful brat," he roared. "After everything we did for you." "You gave me scraps," I replied, my voice dangerously low. "You gave Chloe the world and told me I should be thankful for the shadows." Chloe was staring at the papers, tears falling onto the fraudulent loan application bearing her name. She looked from the documents to her parents, her expression one of dawning horror. "I didn't know," she whispered, looking at me, begging me to believe her. "Neither did I said, my voice softening slightly as I looked at her. "I didn't know how deep it went until I stopped being their distraction. All those years, they pointed to me as the problem so no one would look closely at them." Robert slumped back into his chair, defeated. He muttered, You'd really do this to your own family? I leaned back, the picture of calm. I didn't do this to you, I said, my voice clear and final. You did this for me. You started it. The moment you told me I didn't deserve anything, I stood up. The meeting is over. You should leave. They left my property for the last time. I didn't feel triumph. I felt quiet. A vast, empty quiet where a storm had once raged. The fallout was swift. I heard that Robert's assets had been frozen. I saw a small article about Margaret's business closing amid an IRS investigation. Their carefully constructed world crumbled. Chloe lost her college trust fund, which was never real. It was just the account where they'd funneled the fraudulent loan money. The shame they had inflicted on me had finally found its rightful owners. I didn't gloat. I didn't post a single triumphant word. Revenge, I realized, wasn't a loud explosion. It was the cold, silent aftermath. I spent my nights walking through my enormous empty house. It wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. The weight on my chest, the one I had carried for so long, was gone. A few weeks later, Chloe showed up alone. She walked up the long driveway, her shoulders hunched. I didn't know, she said again, her voice thin and trembling. About any of it. They told me the papers were for scholarships. I just signed. I looked at her and the last of my resentment faded. She had been a pawn just like me. I believe you, I said. I went inside and returned with an envelope. It was a letter of recommendation. My company has a charitable foundation, I explained. There's an entry-level position open. It doesn't pay much and you'll have to work hard. But it's a job. A real one. You can start over, Chloe. But this time it has to be on your own terms. Her head snapped up, her eyes finally meeting mine. For the first time, I saw myself in them. The same pain of betrayal. She nodded, unable to speak. Thank you, she whispered. It wasn't a reconciliation. It was closure. The next morning was my birthday. My 25th, I woke up with the sun and walked downstairs into the living room. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, painting golden squares on the polished hardwood floors. There was no cake, no presents, no people. The house was completely silent. And it was the best birthday I had ever had. I stood there and thought about the girl I was at 19, the one who thought a gift in a gold box was a measure of her worth. 6 years ago, they gave my gift away. Now, I had given myself something far greater. Not a house, not a company, not revenge. I had given myself freedom. Freedom from their judgment, from the desperate need to be seen by people who were determined to look right through me. That was the real gift. And it was all mine. They said I didn't deserve anything. But what I built wasn't revenge. It was proof that I did. If you've ever been treated like the unworthy one, hit like, subscribe, and share your story below. Sometimes silence is the loudest justice.